What did Ibn Arabi say about the year 2026?
Yes, now if we start from April of the past year, 2025, now the blessed person says that this year, he says, is the year of storms and strong winds. Now, what do we understand from this? I say again, we will address it until the middle of 2027, friends. We are in a cycle where strong winds and storms have begun, and we are actually entering a period where these will increase even more. When we look at it astrologically, what do we encounter? There is a tremendous Gemini full moon in December.
And there's an interesting aspect, like a summer day.
There is a Gemini full moon in December, and it brings a storm. Now, when we look at it astrologically, we see the effects in Western astrology. This blessed person also says that at the starting point of the year, there are storms and winds. Then I will know that looking at the historical process, the biggest tornado of that time occurred in England and thousands of people died. When we look at the exact astrological topic and projection, this is in the cycle of the years 2026 and 2027. I will not disregard this blessed person's mention of storms and winds. At this point, we need to have an expectation because astrology, which we consider as current science, strongly supports this. Later, he says, look, this is very important. It is seen that many stars fall. I mentioned earlier, symbolic expression. Now, a star is seen falling. The star is referred to as our star in the realm of the divine, according to Ibn Arabi and the old scholars. What is our star in the realm of the divine? Ibn al-Arabi says what we appear here as solid matter, as humans embodied, but in truth that each of us has a star reflection in the spiritual realm. Now, what did the ancients say? When we look at our ancient traditions and customs, what did they say when a star fell? A person will die because the meaning first occurs above, then descends to the world. What does this person say? Many stars will fall, but the continuation is very important. He specifically says their influence is felt in sultans and kings. What will we be talking about in 2026, İlkay? We will be talking about many changes in leadership, right? Whether it's country presidents or leaders in high councils or high-level positions, we are talking about their changes. This blessed person says, looking back to that date, the changes that it changes at this time. Why? Because he also makes interpretations based on astrological positions. He says barley will become expensive this year. You can consider barley like wheat. Let's think of it as the foundational structure forming the dynamics of the economy. So when we look at it, he's actually talking about an increase in prices. But this part really caught my attention. Barley becomes expensive, most rich is where it is placed. Look, symbolic expressions. Now, most rich is where it is placed. What does this mean? This can have many interpretations. Unfortunately, some producers might be storing due to the current economic process and fluctuations aiming to sell at a higher price, leading to storage, waste, and problems. This is my most basic interpretation, but my heartfelt intention is this. We will have eclipses on the Virgo Pisces axis. The Virgo Pisces axis is agriculture. It's the order. If there is an improvement against GMO products here, let it be as an intention. If there is an improvement, maybe our state will focus on this area in terms of agriculture, while beautifully cultivating and nurturing our ancestral seeds, maybe also gathering and storing the surrounding GMO products. Because when it is stored, there will automatically be a shortage outside. They might prefer to use it in another way. This could also be an expansion, but in other cases, like stacking, it might slightly complicate the economy in that regard, because it becomes mossy and waits. We can also wait for this. It says that livestock gives good yield. So what does it mean that livestock gives good yield? What do we get from animals? Their milk. Our yogurt and cheese from our milk. It says there will be great abundance in these areas. There will be an increase in camel and sheep herds. So there is also a situation related to animals. But in later stages, it will mention some losses. He will talk about situations of perishing. So there is not much trouble in the reproduction of animals here. But he will talk about perishing, about floods. The blessed person will specifically mention sheep, small livestock. Also, under normal conditions, there is no problem with animal reproduction. However, he will also mention the tendency of animals and women to miscarry at some point.
In one part of the land, there will be a great tremor, he says.
Then I can consider an earthquake from the middle of 2025 to the middle of 2027 within this prediction, right?
Are you saying a big tremor?
Of course, he particularly emphasizes this. There will be a great tremor in one part of the earth. Now, I looked at past astrological positions. Especially when Jupiter moves into Gemini, within 7 years, there is the potential for at least 3 major earthquakes in Turkey, according to predictions. Many calamities and diseases will emerge. Now, many calamities and illnesses. In December, there is such a position that it will go down to the lungs. It will particularly affect the joints and shoulders. There is a triggering of an illness process that will extend and complicate the duration of colds by becoming somewhat chronic in December. Because Venus has gone out of bounds, immunity will decrease. There will be a decline in the immune system dimension, as I see it, like a new confirmation. The blessed person also gives a warning on this matter. And then he says, wines increase, therefore throat and back pains begin. Look, actually the lungs and bronchi that we first saw will first start from the throat and go down. It can even provide information on where this will happen, adding a side note, thieves increase.
What interesting details.
Yes, precise observations. Now, thieves increase. Unfortunately, we are going through cycles where merit and virtue have greatly diminished.
I never thought of it like thieves breaking into a house. The increase in theft, stealing ideas.
Everything is theft. Injustice, unfairness, theft.
But actually, when we look at it, this is a behavior related to the lack of virtue and merit. We will talk about astrological positions again. Therefore, I think from January onwards, in these matters, I foresee that especially within the family, there will be very serious regulations coming regarding child rearing. I believe that discipline starts in the family. In this area, parents definitely have a lot of responsibility. What does the increase in thieves mean here? Are we in economic difficulty now? Yes, we are in a global economic crisis. Do we have some weaknesses in terms of production as a society? I think we do. I mean, generally, while we all have the potential to produce more, we tend to take the easy way out and lean towards making money more easily. Of course, the situations and events we observe and visualize on social media today also trigger these points. But this situation inevitably can lead to trouble and scarcity. But no matter how much poverty and hardship there is here, choosing theft is an unvirtuous behavior. So again, I say it seems like there will be a development related to a deep point of discipline from childhood in the new year. We will discuss that with you later. Now, dry winds blow, crops thirst, and those who are pregnant experience hardship and scarcity. So, what do we foresee? Difficulties and problems during pregnancy periods this year and until halfway through next year. Related to this, as you know, nowadays, especially for our women and men, it's not as easy as it used to be to get pregnant. Due to health conditions originating from men, from our ladies, from what we eat and drink, from the unfortunately radioactive processes we are exposed to, from everything, from negative effects, this situation seems likely to continue. Of course, all of these are just predictions. These are our inferences from this person's books. But still, as much as we can, whether these predictions exist or not, we need to be careful during pregnancy.
Science supports this too.
He says many people will die this year.
He thought of the shooting star in that way too. That sultan, kings, they were sultans too.
Actually, we can interpret he fell as losing his position secondarily. But here, this harsh effect will pass in a few places, especially for elderly people and young children. So there is a specifically mentioned topic. I will try to explain as gently as I can to somewhat mitigate those harsh effects. Again, I'm saying there isn't a very optimistic prediction, to be honest. The blessed person says many people will die. Towards the end of the year, things will improve. In astrology, Jupiter will move into Leo in the second half, and we expect some relief.
When? Tell us the month in the second half.
On June 30th, Jupiter will move into Leo.
Oh, okay, on the 30th of June.
The blessed person also says that things will improve towards the end of the year.
Since it started in April, the year is correct.
Yes, we will experience this as complicated in the first months.
Okay.
When we look at the Vatan Surah, we see this in the astrological position as well. Later on the 30th of June, Jupiter will move into Leo. Leo means entertainment. It means pleasure. It's the point where a bit of relaxation is enough and we say, I will look at my life and enjoy it. Maybe the problems and issues outside won't be solved, but our perception will relax a bit. We'll say enough already. Worry, worry, worry. To what end? Anyway, let's be happy with what is.
So a vacation mode is coming in the summer?
It's coming. It's coming at that point. There's a relief there. But then heavy rains start. With these rains, blessings also come, it says. We are slowly moving into a state of goodness. At least we attacked you with gratitude.
Thank God we received some news. Thankful.
Yes, from now on, women are fat.
It didn't happen. He didn't say this. I wasn't going to say this.
Women are getting fatter. Now look at the current situation. We are talking about such a far-sighted, blessed person that what are our women using nowadays? Slimming injections, slimming pills are being used. So there is also a situation related to hormones being manipulated here. It's not just about our women constantly eating. There is something here. Mecca is honored, meaning it gives honor to Mecca here, and an emir is appointed from Damascus. This emir first arrives in Medina, where the messenger of Allah, peace be upon him, resided. He devastates it. However, the people of Medina oppose this emir. Look, it talks about something very important here. The people of Mecca encounter a severe smallpox outbreak. I will get to that part later. But up to this point, it talks about a negative impact on Mecca and Medina. So there will be an extension. Now, when we say Damascus, the blessed person says an emir is appointed from Damascus. Here, actually, what is meant by Damascus is a region. We should not think of it as the current capital of Syria, friends. There was a Damascus region that included parts of Israel, Palestine, Syria, Lebanon, as well as within the southern borders of Jordan and Turkey. In the past, when it was said Damascus in his time,
This comes to mind.
that comes to mind, correct? It talks about an extension that will come from there, a negative effect that will come from there. Who is there to make that extension? Israel. Now, regarding Israel, now, some people might make this comment because when I saw these, when we talked, a hadith came to my wife's mind. She said, oh, I wonder if our Prophet had said a similar hadith about applying such an effect on pilgrims. I immediately researched it right away. No, because I researched it. It is not considered a very authentic hadith. I looked into it. It continues by saying that the people of Mecca will face a severe smallpox outbreak. At the same time, it mentions a locust plague. Here, the venerable person talks about smallpox and in later stages, venereal diseases, that is skin diseases with sores. Now, if Ibn al-Arabi is talking about these places, the virus in the coming age, that is in the future, might have an effect that leaves sores on the skin. What came to my mind when I read about this smallpox? Right after the pandemic period, there was sensational information and news. There was monkeypox. So again, things done by manipulating the smallpox virus.
There are no flowers left because, that stage of history has been printed.
So the smallpox virus withdraws into the nerve cells. You know what we call shingles. Actually, think of it as its initial symptoms, shingles that emerge from stress. Otherwise, the smallpox thing remains passive. But outside, it is something that can be activated with this virus because it emphasizes this in several places. I wanted to share it with you. By the way, the revered person does not see the locust as favorable at all. He does not see the locust as favorable, even as a symbol. Because when we look at the nature of the locust, it ravages the place it enters, brings scarcity. For example, when it enters a wheat field, it becomes difficult to harvest from there. It ravages everywhere, consumes everything. That's why he also notes that it is rarely taken as a symbol. Mecca is feared from the evil eye. The moon and sun are eclipsed. It also mentions eclipses, so it says they are eclipsed in these months. Actually,
Is there a password?
it gives us a code. When will the sun be eclipsed? It will be eclipsed on the 12th of August when we look. When will the other be eclipsed? It will be eclipsed on the 17th of February. Now, at that time, on these 2 dates. Of course, we also need to look at the one in 2027. I'm mentioning the dates for 2026 because the energy continues around the middle. So something will happen around these dates. There's something here. It says here that the eclipse is a lunar and solar eclipse. Now, there could be a lunar eclipse here because I checked which is closer during the pilgrimage season. The 3rd of March, that's the lunar eclipse.
So around the 3rd of March with Mecca and Medina, with pilgrims with crosses, maybe new laws, a new discipline is not happening, not being able to go easily, some obstructions there.
Even if a disease breaks out, people ultimately cannot go. The front islands are a very close-knit environment.
Absolutely. In every way, an obstruction is seen. My guess is that if these are to be foreseen and opened, it would be around the 3rd of March. This year is prone to intense events from every direction. Unfortunately, many kings and sultans will die or be killed. Assassination. Trump's chart indicates this finding. So when we look at it, for example, I can foresee Putin as well. I mean, there is a possibility of an assassination attempt on someone. Let's say Netanyahu is included too. There is a trigger related to these assassinations at 3 points. Now, when the blessed person says this, it actually serves as a confirmation. As you know, Saturn is moving into Aries, and there are situations that need serious attention. In other words, it is necessary to be very careful, especially for the next 2.5 years. Many comets will be seen in the sky this year. 3-eye Atlas. Look, the blessed person mentioned it. We were discussing, what is this? Is it a spaceship, a comet?
I wish I had called you right away. I'm dealing with an astrophysicist at the bar or something.
Yes, it is said that many comets will be seen in the sky this year. So it seems like the 3-eye Atlas will not be alone. There might be surprises in the sky again. There could be unidentified things. If he says again. Now I'm entering the main energy of 2026. Right now, we took it from the energy point coming from the middle of last year. It will affect 2026, but think of it as an introduction. But the things I will mention are directly projections of the energy of 2026. We are entering this new era, an equinox cycle from Saturday. On Saturday, there is some influence on Saturn because the planet Saturn used to be described as a malefic planet. It is known by its old name, Zuhal star. When the Zuhal star appeared, it would manifest as calamities, troubles, diseases, deaths, and wars. Now, especially calamities and difficulties. Now, we are entering from Saturday. Saturday's energy is black. He says, give something black as atonement. Look, these are actually important. Give me something black. For example, let me give an example. I can gift a book with a black cover, or I can buy a notebook in black, or gift a black mug. But as I said, those with such deep knowledge use everything at some point. For instance, the color of the other information I mentioned was white. So what happened then? We became Beşiktaş, black and white. This year, we are all Beşiktaş.
But wait, the other teams now.
I'm joking. I mean white and black atonement.
From January onwards, make a white exit until December, a white exit until the end of December.
Okay, immediately a white exit.
Even until March, the white exit. After March, we can switch to the black exit.
Okay. Let me give a wider range.
Okay.
2 individuals. It is also mentioned here, today's origin and fortune is the Saturn star. This year is not good for herd animals. Now we are good for breeding until even March. Our animals will reproduce, they will give birth, thank goodness. But after March begins, especially after the equinox, conditions change. How do the conditions change? It says it will not be good for herd animals. When we look again at the Pisces Virgo axis, there are small livestock, large livestock. There are possibilities of outbreaks related to them. This year we are also getting confirmation from there. Due to a disease, many animals of the donkey species will perish. Oh my. Yes, look, it gives a lot of detail. Now, why did it specifically emphasize donkeys? Of course, it also has a symbolic meaning. Now, donkeys hear very well here. They hear very well. We say donkey ears, right? They have big ears. While we hear within a much narrower frequency range, they hear at least 2 to 2.5 times more than us. And that's why, especially with ground tremors and such, people in the past understood a lot from the sounds donkeys made. Of course, we have our dogs and cats, but the concept of donkeys was used a lot in the past. One of the pioneers in natural disasters. This, of course, unfortunately, there is a global system. Now, we openly talk about this, but there is also a dark esoteric side. We must not deny these anymore, and we will realize what will happen right before our eyes. Their games never end. These games never end. Now, it seems we have an animal they will target here. Donkeys, dear donkeys.
But when we look at donkeys, I guess their numbers have decreased a lot. Because if I remember correctly, even a year or two ago, I recall reading some information somewhere. But I might be wrong because I haven't recently confirmed it.
But there is already a decrease. In Martin, donkeys work as municipal workers. Those who visit can see them. They are very sweet, working diligently. Dear people of Martin, you are taking care of the donkeys on our behalf.
They are our precious ones. We will pay special attention to them this year. This year's winds are abundant and strong.
He talks a lot about the wind again, and I'm also expecting very serious hurricanes. I predict there will be a hurricane by the middle of 2026 to 2027. But we are entering such a 7-year cycle that we will talk a lot about weather events in this 7-year cycle. We will talk a lot. Because we are entering a booming year of 2026 with the fire and air elements, and when I look at past lessons, I always like to verify. When we say what happened in this celestial position in the past, we always encounter situations with storms. It's strange, isn't it? We're almost in December. So we will be on the 10th when it is published. The weather is perfectly sunny. This makes people a bit worried, to be honest. We have that full moon in December. The Gemini full moon was January 5th. No, it was December 5th, if I remember correctly. It seems like things will start to reverse after the 5th of December. I guess that will bring strong winds.
We mentioned this year's winds. An increase in war events is observed.
We are expecting war. I can't really accept the prediction that there won't be a war because it doesn't align much with reality. I mean, it's really contrary to reality. It's contrary both astrologically and in terms of the course of events. This blessed person has also mentioned it.
I actually claim that the Third World War has started, and we are in it. I mean, we started this with Ukraine, with the Ukraine-Russia war.
We are in it right now, but we don't understand. Also, Neptune will come to Aries. It is a sign that represents war. Neptune resolves things without anyone noticing. We will experience the Third World War.
Oh, do you see? Today he attacked him. Oh, I heard he attacked him too. We won't realize that this is a war. However, in my opinion, this is my own thought. We are already in the Third World War. Why am I claiming this so strongly? Like this, Jupiter will move into Uranus. When Jupiter moved into Uranus in the past, borders were being defined. The Second World War is now ending. Borders have started to be defined. We are entering a 7-year cycle with Jupiter. Now, there are actually wars happening quietly. In a few years, because Jupiter will still be there, in a few years, we will start defining borders again.
You say the borders will change. They will change. They will definitely change. I mean, all the indicators here show this.
But what can we say always? Let's not forget to mention Gaza here again. A serious massacre is happening there.
As a nation, we have shown sensitivity as much as we could, but we need to show even more. Why am I saying this? Because the time for rights is beginning. The time for rights, people. The time for peoples.
The time of the people is beginning now. We will reach such a point that the year 2026 is truly a very significant beginning. Don't mind that everyone says it like a cliche, but there is a beginning beyond prediction. But I am talking about a serious beginning. And the hero of this beginning is the people. That's why I say to our beautiful people, we will continue to be good. We will never give up on goodness, because in our astrological position, in our chart, we are always inclined to be good, to feed, to nourish, to have a nurturing approach. But we also have the power and strength to say, stop to the oppressor. For this reason, I say hold on a little longer. The process will reach a cycle where the people will truly give what is deserved to those who deserve it. We will reach such a point. This is good news for all of us, but I see a union behind it. I see an awakening behind it. There is definitely an awakening. Now, I want to use our time correctly again. You know that Pope Leo IV came and visited. I looked at the day Leo IV came. I was curious about what kind of astrological position there is, what the event is, what the situation is, what the process is. So I checked. November 27th. When I looked, there was a huge water trine. We have Jupiter in Cancer, Saturn is in Pisces, and at the top there's Mercury, Sun in Scorpio. There was something that caught my attention in that Scorpio stellium, Black Moon Lilith. Kare Lilith is related to spells, related to evil. It gives an influence and effect associated with trouble. In the past, maybe the 14th, well, Leo exhibited very humane behavior. I'm giving you an example.
But there is a fundamental issue in this process. I mean, in the structuring of this Christianity process at the Council of Nicaea, there is no goodwill. There is an issue there.
So it's not really a council that was nicely formed for Christians. There's nothing in that chart about how we can refine this religion further or make it more pure and simple. There is a structuring that tries to integrate the Christian religion into Rome's own belief system. And there isn't a very positive energy there, no matter how good your actions are. That's why I say, look at the source.
Now, the source is very important. You see it as pure. Until it reaches you, it goes through many complicated points. It purifies the filth halfway through. But when you look at the source, it's a mess.
Yeah, this part is very important. The source is problematic. Of course, the source is very problematic.
Therefore, the astrological issue is definitely not a coincidence. Yes, small box spreads. Look, it emphasizes this again here. Along with this, there will be an increase in back and throat diseases. Insistently, look, it mentions throat diseases again. It also says this within 2026. It says that this year birds will reproduce a lot, especially that swallows will reproduce a lot. They will reproduce, yes, they will reproduce. It says there will be an increase.
Now the swallow collectively represents technology.
So when I look at people's spirit animals, when they mention a swallow, I understand it as having a mechanical intelligence, doing something scientific, or they have an engineer's mindset. That's how I perceive it. Technology will advance then. Technology will advance.
The moon is an amazing, the symbol speaks so much. If we know the true meaning of the symbol, it speaks tremendously. It says it will increase significantly here.
It also says that grapes will increase. Grapes actually, probably not winemaking. Please don't think of it as winemaking. There's something like this. Grapes.
There are also points of love and romance. Now, we might say wine. It appears as wine. Let's say it that way, maybe. But the wine of love, but grapes also have a truth in the dimension of meaning. It gives us that beauty, goodness, sweetness in the dimension of meaning. That's why I think the love aspect will increase a bit more with this grape event. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful things will come out for us from time to time, little by little, please. Unfortunately, fabric becomes more expensive and the textile industry has been seriously hit. I hear that many people are in a difficult situation with their companies or are in the process of closing them. But what can we say? Hopefully they will get through it easily. Let's say it like this.
There can also be losses among the young of small livestock.
So since they refer to lambs as small livestock, sheep, we can talk about them here. Then what can we say about them? Lambs. There will be an issue related to the lambs. This blessed person is conveying this to us in some way. They say the prices of sheep fat and meat will decrease and become cheaper, and divorce cases will increase. Again, we come to divorces. In the previous one, there was also an increase in divorce cases. Divorce cases increase. But here now, miscarriages also increase. Divorces also increase. Heavy rains are seen. These rains are of a disastrous nature and cause losses in sheep flocks, as I mentioned earlier. Crop work increases until the end of the year. This year's winter and summer will be severe. It has been clearly stated that a severity is coming. Severe inflation will begin in Yemen, Iraq, and the countries of Sham. It seems like there will be a war, internal conflict, or something in these places. The inflation situation will also increase, or there are already economic fluctuations. It's happening worldwide. This is also seen in celestial positions. We will talk about them too, but I think it's important to specifically mention these areas. Deaths are frequently seen among elderly men and women. That is the situation of elderly people passing away. Now, when we look at the Vatansura, Saturn is merging with Neptune. What does this mean? Neptune already signifies losses. When Saturn refers to deaths, it also means the elderly. Neptune already signifies losses. And they are merging. And in Aries too, sudden deaths among the elderly. I wondered if there might be a possibility of a cold affecting the elderly, a situation that could weaken their resistance. A great turmoil arises in Yemen. Again, there is fear in those areas during the pilgrimage season. Look, it has come to the same point again. From the other year to this year as well. How consistent? Different. Yes, how consistently it has said the same things from different perspectives. Because it's a continuation, right? A continuation in the year. Look, it comes from there. It will go until the middle of 27.
Because the winds lighten, pilgrims and their belongings, fabrics get damaged. At that time, this is again related to natural disasters and sky positions. And again, it carries wind disease. It carries everything actually. Let's not just say disease, but we are making this comment to understand the point of prediction. It says one of the moon or sun will be eclipsed. Look, again, eclipsed.
When we look again, the pilgrimage season as such is again the 3rd of March. So the closest date is the 3rd of March. As it will start around May, it seems closer. Later, abundance begins in the crops.
Diseases like the plague with fever increase. Now, when we look at the plague again, it is a disease that leaves serious lesions.
Because be ready, today is the day when Adam's son Cain killed his brother Abel. It's not because of this that this year is considered an unlucky year. It directly says it is considered an unlucky year due to the appearance of the Saturn star and its fortune, the misfortune of this year. I'm not sure if I should say this part, but I will directly convey the sentence.
He also said it fills graves with the dead and houses destroy houses. Look, he gave a clue here. It fills graves, destroys houses. He says, however, those living on the mountaintop can protect themselves from these disasters. Those living on the mountaintop.
And again, as he always adds, God knows best. Those living on the mountain. Now, those living on the mountain again remind us of earthquakes. Because why? When we build our houses on rocky places, they have solid foundations. But when we build on field areas, the foundation can be weak. This again can actually remind us of earthquakes and also floods.
But when there's an attack or something, Ayşegül is both with the banks and on the hills. Of course, like a fortress protection. Look at the old ancient cities, they are always on the hills. None of them are on the coast. For example, when you go to Mardin.
Oh, for protection. Yes, definitely.
Here, it also emphasizes this. It already mentions that it is a year of war. Mubarak already said this at the beginning.
So there is a war. Now, you also said 2024 in the previous video. Indeed, it was a difficult year. We titled it like this, Ayşegül. I really liked it. It said, don't be afraid, but be aware. Yes, absolutely. Therefore, while closing this, definitely here, absolutely. No matter what we go through, we should actually align ourselves.
Yes, and we should say, what am I doing in this difficulty? Absolutely, an outside world stage. One way or another, we are in such a time. Definitely, we will end it like this anyway. We will end with hope. We will end with what we need to do.